What type of polarization can you call that? If I have only one component of electric field, what type of polarization can you call? Yeah, good. This also I have clarified, I think, in the last class. Said to be polarized if we have one component. Yeah. So till whatever the analysis we have done, just by assuming that there are no reflections in the medium. So even in the uniform plane wave also, I have told if the wave is propagating in the positive direction, actually speaking, after solving the differential equation, if you remember, there is one positive z and one negative z will be there, isn't it? So there I have already told you. So one component represents the wave which is getting reflected back in the negative z direction, and this is the wave which is forward in the positive z direction. So this is your incident wave and this is your reflected wave. And thereafter we have assumed that there are no reflections in the medium and consider only there is a one forward wave. Now we will consider what is the effect of the reflections. So what is the meaning of that was, suppose if I have an interface here which is located at z equal to 0 and the wave is propagating in the positive section, and let us say this is a medium. So whenever the medium is placed in the direction of propagation, you know that there will be some reflected wave and some transmitted wave. Now we are going to analyze how much reflection is happening for the electric fields, similarly magnetic fields, and for power, and how much electric field or magnetic field or the power is transmitted into the next medium. So do you remember, we already know what is the relation between the incident and the transmitted fields. Can you recollect what is the topic we have discussed? If any signal is incidenting from one medium to the other medium, we know the relation between the incident and transmitted wave. This we already done in what concept? Very good. Boundary conditions. Correct. So we will apply those boundary conditions also here, and we will try to analyze how much reflection is also happening. So when I was talking about uniform plane wave, it is very simple. Okay. Suppose, when you want to analyze this reflection and transmission, it depends upon at what angle the wave is propagating with respect to the interface. So in this case, your wave is propagating exactly at 90 degrees with respect to your interface. Sometimes the wave can enter like this. So it may make an oblique incidence other than 90 degrees. Let us say this is called theta. So we will classify all these categories into two types. So the first category, we will see the normal incidence. So which means if the wave enters at an angle of 90 degrees with respect to interface, we will analyze what is the reflection and what is the transmission. Then in the second case, we will see the oblique incidence. That is, if the wave enters at other than 90 degrees, we will see what is the reflection and what is the transmission. So as of now, we can assume that we are categorizing into two parts. So let us start with the normal incidence. As you see here in the diagram on the right side, so this is your interface, so which is located at z equal to 0. And there is an incident wave which is propagating in the positive z direction. So what will happen when the signal is incidenting at a 90 degrees angle? What happened to the reflected angle? You know the Snell's law, right? So what is the Snell's law says? If we have an interface, whatever the angle of incident, yeah,
Sir, in boundary condition, we always take it from medium 2 to medium 1, right? But here
that is
we'll take
anything.
from medium 1 to medium 2.
No, no, no. There also you can take it from medium 1 to medium 2, but only the equation get reverse.
Okay.
So there I
Okay.
told you specifically from medium 2 to medium 1 because you are going to memorize the equations, right?
Yeah.
So when you
Yes,
are
sir.
memorizing the equations, you have to remember which medium to which medium it is entering, or otherwise you will get wrong answer.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So what is the Snell's law says right now? If there is an interface, whatever the angle at which the wave is entering, the angle of reflection is also same. So let me put it in otherwise. So this is your interface and this is my normal to the interface. So this is your incident wave, makes an angle of theta I. What will happen? There will be some reflected wave and some transmitted wave. So this is nothing but your theta R and this is nothing but your theta T. So the angle of incidence is same as your angle of reflections, correct? So that's what. When the incident wave is entering at an angle of 90 degrees, there will be a reflected wave which is also 90 degrees with respect to the interface using our Snell's law. So do you have any question in that? Whatever I said this point? So what I mean to say, the angle of incidence is same as the angle of reflection using over the first Snell's law. So by considering that, this is your incident wave, makes an angle of 90 degrees. So the reflected wave is also in the same medium, but in the opposite direction. Because it is exactly entering here and the same way it is getting reflected back. And consider this is your transmitted wave. So let me give an example for this. So as you see here, the incident wave is propagating in positive z direction. So can you give an example for incident electric field and incident magnetic field? I want to have my propagation in the positive z direction. Then what should be the combination of incident electric field and incident magnetic field? Can you just quickly reply here? X and Y. It can be negative X and negative Y also, isn't it? You may have both are positive X and positive Y. You may have negative AX and negative AY. Or what are the other combinations? Only two? Only two or something else? Negative X and Y, yeah? No, it is positive Y and negative X, correct. That is also correct only. Or otherwise you may have a negative Y or positive X. So there are number of cases are possible, but we will analyze one case only as an example. So I will consider the incident electric field in X direction and incident magnetic field is in Y direction. Okay. So there are so many cases are possible, but to understand this concept, I have assumed only one particular case. So what I mean to say now, so there is an incident wave propagates in positive Z direction. Accordingly, I have incident electric field in X direction and magnetic field in Y direction. That's what I have represented here. Even if you see here, this is your Z equal to 0. Z equal to 0, which one will be the perpendicular direction? So for the surface Z equal to 0, which one represents the perpendicular direction? Good. So I can elaborate it so that you can see the interface clearly. You may see the interface here as a line, but of course it's not a line, it is basically a sheet. So you are having the X component as well as the Y component. Okay, so let me analyze. This is my X axis and this is my Y axis. And perpendicular to that, you are having a Z axis. This is your positive Z and this is your negative Z. So you can see the direction here. How I have represented EI? Incident electric field is along the X direction. So it is matched. What will be the magnetic field? I have represented into symbol. What it represents then? Into means inside into the board. So into the board, if you see, that is your Y component. So if I am representing the same interface like this, you are able to see that your Y direction is actually into the board. Right? You may not be able to see when you see exactly. Suppose if you are seeing it as a line, you can see only the z-axis and you can see only the x-axis. And y-axis looks to be into the board. You may not be able to visualize it. So everybody understood what I'm trying to say. This is very important. So have you understood why the incident magnetic field I have represented it as into? Now see here, this is my interface. It looks to be line. It looks to be line, but actually it is a surface. Okay. So when you see this particular interface from the front view, and let us say this surface has been inclined a little bit. So what will happen? You are able to see your x-axis and your y-axis will be going into the board. Okay, so what I represented, your electric field is in x direction. So this line is same as your this line, what you are seeing here. Okay, so that is the reason why you are able to see the incident electric field which is parallel to the interface. So because when I represented it as a line, so you are not able to see this component. Will you agree with me? So the same surface, I have represented it as a line. Because of that, you are not able to see this component. So that's what I'm saying. Since you are not able to see, I can say that that will be represented as a into the plane of the board. So that is the reason why I have given with a into symbol. So which means that you are not able to see, so which lies very much into the plane of the paper. So I hope the concept is clear. Okay. So can you tell me the example for reflected then? What should be the combination? So I have an incident wave propagating in the positive z direction, electric field in x direction, and magnetic field in y direction. Okay. So my reflected wave is propagating in negative z direction. So if the direction of wave propagation changes, either electric field or magnetic field should change its direction. Correct or not? So because your direction of propagation is a cross product of E and H. For the incident wave, the wave is propagating in the positive z direction. For the reflected wave, the wave is propagating in the negative z direction. So what is the possibility? Either electric field should be negative x or magnetic field should be negative ay. Yes or no? So can you tell me the combination now in this case? So by seeing the diagram, what you are understanding, you tell me. By seeing the diagram, I have assumed electric field, reflected electric field also in the same direction of incident electric field. Good. So the combinations will be ER will be in AX and reflected magnetic field is in negative Y. So that is the reason why I represented with a dot symbol. So dot represents which is outside the plane of the paper. So similarly, by seeing the diagram, tell me what is the transmitted component electric field and magnetic field? So transmitted wave is propagating in the z direction. So your transmitted electric field is in x and transmitted magnetic field is in y. Okay. Now if you see here, actually the interface is located at z equal to 0. Okay, which means your xy plane. This is your x plane and this is your y axis. Can you call this incident electric field and incident magnetic field both are tangential component or not with respect to this interface? I want to know this incident electric field and incident magnetic field are the tangential component to this interface or normal component. If you remember boundary condition, you will be able to answer. There, what is tangential and what is normal? tangential. Correct, as I said, because you can see here the only one which is perpendicular to the interface is nothing but your normal component. So whichever is lying on the surface, both are said to be the tangential component. Okay, so in this case your x direction and y direction both are said to be the tangential component. So you can see for incident wave your EI and HI are tangential components, and similarly see the reflected wave. AX is also one of the tangential component and HR is also tangential component. Similarly for transmitted also. Though the wave is propagating perpendicularly, as per the normal incident is concerned, your all this EIHI, ERHR, ETHT, all the values are said to be the tangential components because it is sign located only in X and Y directions only. Suppose if you have any Z component, then you may have the normal component. So do you understood what I mean to say? I'm saying that all these ETHT, EIHI, ERHR, all are tangential components. Yeah. Then we will try to apply the concepts of the boundary conditions now. Okay, so what is the first boundary condition you have? Can anybody turn on your microphone and tell? With respect to electric fields, what is the boundary condition we have? First one. E tan 1 is equals to E tan 2. Very good. Okay, before that, first we will define what is the impedance of the medium 1 and medium 2. Then we will come to the boundary condition. So can anybody say what is the impedance of the first medium? So this is your medium 1 and this is your medium 2. What is the impedance of the first medium? How to define? What is the intrinsic impedance? In the last class we have discussed. EI by HI or it can be ER by HR. So the impedance is the ratio of electric field by magnetic field. So because your incident wave and reflected wave both are present in the same medium, so the intrinsic impedance can be defined as either EI by HI or it can be same as ER by HR. Both incident and reflected wave lies in the same medium one. Similarly, the impedance of the second medium can be defined as ET by HT. So these are the impedance how you can define in medium 1 and medium 2. Now we will start with the first boundary condition. So E tan 1 is equals to E tan 2. So what is the total tangential component in medium 1? So since it is an electric field, you see there are two type of electric fields present in medium 1. That is your incident electric field and reflected electric field. So if we say the total tangential component, what will be the value then? Based upon the previous explanation, you can see what is the total tangential component of electric field in medium 1. Okay. Anybody? You can turn on your microphone. Okay, good. I got the answer. Yeah, it is EI plus ER. So EI plus ER is equal to, in medium 2, what is the electric field tangential component? You had only ET. So this is my first equation. Okay, similarly, if whatever the interface is located here is source free, which means that there is no charge lies on this interface or there may not be any current on that. In that case, you are having one of the boundary condition for magnetic field says that H tan 1 minus H tan 2 is equal to K, which is nothing but 0. If I assume it's a source free.
Sir, it will
Yes.
be H tan2 minus H tan1 equal to K.
Anyhow, it depends. Both are same only, right? As long as K is 0, both the relations are same only.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that's it. So I can say H tan 1 is equals to H tan 2. So what is the H tan 1 in the first medium? Can you tell me? What is H tan 1 in the first medium? So I can say, anybody? No, it is not 0.
Hi minus HR, sir.
Good, good. HI minus HR, or it can be HR minus HA. It's a difference. It's the difference of HI and HR. Because somebody is saying 0, because your incident magnetic field and reflected magnetic field may not be same in magnitude. Yeah, so that is the reason why H tan 1 is the difference of incident magnetic field minus reflected magnetic field is equal to HT. So let me replace this equation in terms of electric field. So the magnetic field component can also be written as E by eta. So you can see this equation. So HI can also be written as EI by eta 1. So EI by eta 1 minus. Similarly, HR also can be written as ER by eta 1. ER by eta 1 is equals to ET by eta 2. Right? So what is the equation you are having? EI minus ER is equal to ET into eta 1 by eta 2. So this is your second equation. So till now anybody is having questions? So understood why I have mentioned it is a negative sign here. Because your incident electric magnetic field is into the board and reflected magnetic field is outside the board. So that is the reason why the net magnetic field will be the difference of HI and HR. Okay, this part is clear for everyone. Yes or no? You can reply here. Yeah. Then you do when I was giving some time for you. So using your equation 1 and 2, I want to know two parameters. That is the reflected electric field by incident electric field. What is the value of this? And similarly, ET by EI. Okay. These two values I want to find out. So can you do that? So using your 1 and 2, you tell me what is ER by EI and what is ET by EI. So just take 1 plus 2 and 1 minus 2. You will get some equations and solve that and tell me these values. Okay. Once you are done with that, you can tell me. So anybody done? So at least one. So I think at least when you do 1 plus 2, you are able to define this ET by EI. I hope so.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me what is the values you are getting. So others you can cross check it. So first thing, ET by EI. What is the value you got?
2 eta 2 divided by eta 1 plus eta 2.
Okay. And what about ER by EI?
Sir, eta 2 minus eta 1 divided by eta 2 plus eta 1.
Good, good. Correct. Thank you. So anybody, if you are not able to do it quickly, you can take time. Even after the class also, you can try to solve the equations. Because the same thing we are going to do for the next oblique incidents also. You will get a practice. That's why I told. So actually, if you see what is the significance of these two terms, so why I was more specific on this one was, so see the first equation. So what is the first equation says, this is the ratio of your transmitted electric field by incident electric field. So which represents how much electric field is transmitted into the second medium when you compare with the first medium. So I can call this as a transmission coefficient for the electric fields. Similarly, can you tell me what this can be called? So the first equation represents how much amount of transmission is happening into the medium 2. So similarly, can you tell me what is that second equation I can name? Reflection coefficient. Good. It represents how much electric field is reflected back when you compare with the incident electric field. So the amount of the reflected electric field with respect to incident electric field, I can define it as a reflection coefficient. So this is basically defined with a symbol gamma. So gamma represents the reflection coefficient, and since this is for electric field, I can add one suffix E. E stands for electric field. So similarly, this one represents the transmission coefficient tau, and since it is for electric field, I can add the suffix E. Okay, and once again you can find out that, so when you add 1 plus gamma, 1 plus reflection coefficient, you are going to get it is same as your transmission coefficient. Can you verify and tell me, is it correct or not? You just add plus 1 here, you are going to get the value will be 2 eta 2 by eta 1 plus eta 2. So can you verify, everybody? Yeah. So this is your famous equation which can be valid not only for electric fields but also for magnetic field and for power. So in general, when you see in the normal incidence, I was specific, only in the normal incidence, your 1 plus reflection coefficient is equal to transmission coefficient. So this is a very, very important equation. Okay, now you can see here clearly the amount of transmission or the reflection, it purely depends upon the impedances of the mediums. So what is the impedance of the second medium and the first medium? These parameters only contributing for the amount of transmission and the reflection. So is it clear? Just a minute. Yeah. Now we will consider two different mediums. So let us say this is your medium 1 and this is my medium 2. My medium 2 is a perfect conductor. What will be the amount of reflection and what will be the transmission? So can you tell me quickly? So medium 1 can be anything other than conductor, and medium 2 is a perfect conductor. It is an ideal conductor. So what is the amount of reflection coefficient? So consider this as a first case. So where medium 1 can be anything and the medium 2 is a perfect conductor. So you can use the relation eta 2 minus eta 1 by eta 2 plus eta 1. So this is the reflection coefficient for electric field. So what is the impedance of the second medium? So can you tell me what is the impedance of perfect conductor? Or otherwise, anybody, do you remember when you are solving for the good conductors? We have got one specific equation for the skin impedance. Skin impedance. Can anybody tell me what is the value you got there? Assume that this is a good conductor. So when you are discussing about wave propagation in good conductor, we have got one equation. Anybody can turn on the mic and tell me.
J
Yeah.
omega mu by 2 sigma root over.
J omega mu by?
2
Sorry?
sigma root over.
No. Okay. No. This is the value you got. If you see here, it is a complex number. What we got?
Yes, sir.
Right? Yeah. This is the skin resistance and this is the skin reactance. There I told you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyhow, you have to practice. Fine. No problem. Good attempt. So in this case, suppose if it is a perfect conductor, what is the value of sigma? This is for good conductors. Whatever you have defined is a good conductor. If it is a perfect conductor, sigma will be
Infinite, sir.
So what is the impedance?
0.
0. Good. So when you consider any ideal conductor, it offers an impedance of 0 ohms. So when your eta 2 will be 0, irrespective of whatever the medium 1, what is the value of gamma E? Substitute and tell me. Reflection coefficient is 0. No. Eta 2 is 0 minus eta 1 can be some value divided by 0 plus eta 1. So what is the value you are going to get? Yeah, minus 1. So this is the ratio of ER by EI. So this is what I was saying here, right? Since from the first class I was shouting this. So when any signal incident on a perfect conductor, the conductor will not allow any electric signal. It will fully get reflected back. Now you got the answer for that, isn't it? So when any signal incidenting on a perfect conductor, the total amount will be reflected. That is what this term represents. What is minus 1 represents? Whatever is incidenting on the electric field, everything get reflected back with the opposite phase. So the total electric field get reflected back with a negative, you can say opposite phase. So everybody understood now? This is what the reason why, since from the first class I was telling, the conductor will not allow any electric field. So whatever is incidenting here, everything will get reflected back. So I have given a mathematical explanation here. Now you can understand it clearly. So any questions you have here? So do you have any questions? Yeah. So anybody? Yeah, fine. Next, consider both the mediums are ideal dielectrics. So let me consider the second case. Yes, some question is there.
No, sir. No question.
Yeah. So consider the second case where both the mediums are ideal dielectrics. So this is my dielectric 1 and this is my dielectric 2. Both are ideal dielectrics. So if you see the last class, I have told you the impedance in an ideal dielectric will be 120 pi by root epsilon r. So since it is medium 1, let me define it as 1. Okay. Similarly, eta 2 will be 120 pi by root epsilon r2. Okay. So this is your medium 1 and medium 2. So if you find the reflection coefficient in this case, what you are going to get? So eta 2 minus eta 1 by eta 2 plus eta 1. So if you substitute the values, 120 pi by root epsilon r2 minus 120 pi by root epsilon r1. So you can substitute and simplify the values. So everywhere 120 pi gets cancelled. So if you simplify, what you are going to get is root epsilon r1 minus root epsilon r2 by root epsilon r1 plus root epsilon r2. So this is a very important equation when both the mediums are dielectric. Okay, just I was simplifying, substituting the values and finding out arriving at the reflection coefficient in terms of dielectric constant. Why? Because this equation is very important, because if you don't know the impedance also, in most of the cases they will give straight away the value of epsilon r. So it's better for you if you memorize this equation in terms of the epsilon. So if you see this equation, you will get one important information. So what is that means? If your permittivity of the first medium is lesser than permittivity of the second medium. So what does this mean? In this case, your electric gamma E is going to be positive or negative. So if the wave enters from a low permittivity to high permittivity, what about gamma E represents? Is it a positive number or a negative number? Good, negative. So this is a very important note which you have to remember. So when the signal enters from less permittivity, which means that the wave should be called as a rarer medium. And the one which is having a higher permittivity is called denser medium. So if the wave enters from the rarer medium to the denser medium, your reflection coefficient is always negative for electric fields. So everybody understood what I meant to say? If any signal enters from low permittivity to high permittivity, your reflection coefficient for electric field is always negative. Clear? Shall I go ahead? Yeah. So till now what you have seen? The reflection coefficient for electric field and the transmission coefficient for the electric fields. Now we will see what is the reflection happening for magnetic fields. So let me write the reflection coefficient for electric field, eta 2 minus eta 1 by eta 2 plus eta 1, and the transmission coefficient is 2 eta 2 by eta 1 plus eta 2. And what is the general equation you got? 1 plus gamma is always equal to tau. So how you are defined gamma E? It is nothing but ER by EI. So transmission coefficient is ET by EI. So similarly, the reflection coefficient for magnetic field can be defined as minus HR by HI. Is it correct? Because in our assumption, if we go back to the previous slide, you see here, incident electric field is into the board and magnetic field. Incident magnetic field is into the board and reflected magnetic field is outside the board. So both will be opposite. So if one is in positive Y, the other one is in negative Y. So when you want to define the reflection coefficient, in that case, you should take negative of HR by HI. Understood? Understood, or anybody is having doubt here? Yeah. So if we replace the magnetic, you need not to do all the boundary condition again. The problem is simple, because the magnetic field can also be expressed as a ratio of electric field and impedance. So we know that how to convert the magnetic field, that is ER divided by eta 1, and HI can also be written as EI by eta 1. So which is nothing but eta 1 gets cancelled. So minus ER by EI. So this is said to be minus the reflection coefficient for electric field. So the reflection coefficient for magnetic field is same as the reflection coefficient for electric field, but with 180 degrees phase shift. So similarly, the transmission coefficient for magnetic field can be defined as HT by HI. So we had the generalized equation here. So suppose if you are mentioning transmission coefficient for magnetic field, your reflection coefficient also consider for magnetic field. So tau h can also be written as 1 plus gamma h And you know that gamma h is same as minus gamma e. So this can be written as 1 minus gamma e. So I'm giving an exercise for you. Can you tell me what is the reflection coefficient for power? I want to know how much reflection is happening for the power. So how to define? This is the reflected power divided by the incident power. So the reflected power can also be defined as the ratio of power densities. Because power can be defined as power density into area, right? This is the reflected power density into area and incident power density into area. So area gets cancelled. So in the Poynting vector, I already told you. Do you remember how the power density is defined? So what is the formula for the power density I given in the last class? E into H. Good. So the power density is basically the cross product of E and H. Similarly, if I want to find out what is the reflection power density, your electric field and magnetic field should be ER and HR corresponding to reflection divided by incident electric power density. You can define it as EI into HI. So I don't want to explain again why this minus came here for the magnetic field. So if you take positive for HI, you should take negative for HR. So it depends on that. So you know that you can see this term ER by EA is called gamma E, reflection for electric field, and minus HR by HI is also called as gamma H. You see the equation. Equation is here only. So once again, you know that gamma H is equal to minus gamma E. So the value becomes minus gamma E square. So reflection coefficient for power will be square of the reflection coefficient for electric field. This negative will always be present because once your gamma E becomes negative, your gamma H becomes positive. If gamma E is positive, gamma H becomes negative. So ultimately your gamma P will always be negative. Okay. Now what will be the transmission coefficient for power now? So that is the transmitted power divided by the incident power. So I can use this relation only. So the transmission coefficient for power is equal to 1 plus gamma P. So gamma P value is same as gamma E square. Okay. So just go through it for some time. If you have any questions, I will be able to clarify. So finally, you need not remember all these equations. It is very simple. What sorry. So whatever the problem it is given, first of all, the key note what you need to find out is gamma E. All the equations will come subsequently. So if you want to calculate the transmission coefficient, it is 1 plus gamma E. See, all the equations are given in terms of gamma E only. So whatever the problem is given, first find out what is the reflection happening for electric field. Then use the appropriate equations to find out what happens for the magnetic field. We have to clearly remember the reflection for magnetic field is opposite for electric field. And reflection for power is the square of the reflection coefficient for electric field. If you remember that, all the equations will be simple. So when I summarize it, if you remember what is the value of gamma E, so reflection coefficient for magnetic field is straight away negative of that. Similarly, reflection coefficient for power is square of that. So what happens to the transmission? If you want to write the transmission, you just remember these equations only. 1 plus gamma will be always equal to tau. So if I want to find out transmission for magnetic field, it is 1 plus gamma h. So it is same as 1 minus gamma e. So similarly, what is the reflection coefficient for power? 1 plus reflection for power is same as 1 minus gamma e square. So you need not to remember all these things and all. You just remember only this one. So whatever the problem is given, find out gamma e first, then use the appropriate relations here. So any questions here? So am I making it complicated? You are free to share your opinion. Yeah. So I was trying very hard to make it each and every point very clear to you. In that process, if you feel that at any point I am making it complicated, you just tell me. Because I'm not the person who will skip the topics very simply. So that is the reason why I was telling you. If at any point you will feel very complicated, the easiest solution was you have to practice. That's it. So don't think that I was making very complicated. I was making sure that these are the topics which are present. And my job is here just to explain what all the topics are existing. I want to make it comfortable for you. In that process, you may feel initially it looks to be so much of equations, all these things and that. But once you put a dedicated time for practicing all these equations and all, you will get ultimately very comfortable. Okay, so shall we start problems now? Okay, see the first. Okay, we will come to the first problem later. Before that, see the second problem. So from now onwards, what I was doing it was the problems I was not going to create in a new PDF file. I want to discuss simultaneously with the topic only. So whatever the topic is there, immediately I want to discuss the problems. So that is the reason why the problems I was putting in the same presentation. Okay, so see this question now. So there is a uniform plane wave which is incident normally from one electric medium to the other dielectric medium. So the electric field of the transmitted wave is minus 2 times of the electric field of reflected wave. Then find out the ratio of epsilon 2 by epsilon 1. So both the mediums are dielectric only. So this is epsilon 1 and epsilon 2. So what is the condition given? The electric field of the transmitted wave is equal to minus 2 times of the electric field of reflected wave. Then find out what is the ratio. So from your side, you just give a try, and if you are not able to do, anyhow, I was going to explain here. So just give a try and tell me what is the value you got. So if you are doing, remember these two mediums are dielectric to dielectric. Keep that point in your mind. You can try and tell me once you are done with that. So anybody done? Okay, let me do that. So what is the approach? Anybody done? What is the 1 by 4? Okay, let me cross check. So how to do this one was, you can divide with incident electric field on both the sides. Okay, that case, it will become your transmission coefficient and this is your reflection coefficient. So what you are going to get, tau E is equal to minus 2 times gamma E as per the given condition, correct? So we know the transmission coefficient can also be written as 1 plus gamma. So 1 plus gamma E is equal to minus 2 times gamma E. So which means your 3 gamma E is equal to minus 1. So gamma E is equal to minus 1 by 3. Okay, I have already given what is the reflection coefficient for electric field if both are dielectric medium. So you can go to that equation and you can see this is the equation I have given. So in terms of impedance, it is eta 2 minus eta 1. But if you see the dielectric constant, it is root epsilon R1 minus root epsilon R2. Okay, so you can use this one and you can find out easily what is the values. Okay, here are you aware of the component and dividend rule? So when this is a kind of a fraction like this, you can apply the component and dividend so that you will directly get the ratio. So generally you used to cross multiply and separate epsilon R1 and epsilon R2, right? That is the procedure we used to follow. So what is the component and dividend rule was, you do some operation on the left side, you do the same operation on the right side. So which means this is your numerator and this is your denominator. Correct. So I was adding numerator plus denominator. So on the left side, it will be minus 1 plus 3. That will be 2 divided by numerator minus denominator. So that will be minus 4 is equal to, you do the same operation on the right side also. So initially what you have done, numerator plus denominator. So that time your value becomes 2 root epsilon R1. Similarly, in the denominator, what you have done here, numerator minus denominator. So subtract numerator minus denominator. So what you are going to get, minus 2 into root epsilon R2. So you can directly get the ratio. So that how it helps. So it's a simple shortcut. So you see here 2 gets cancelled, 2 times and minus 1 gets cancelled. So what I was getting, epsilon R1 by epsilon R2 is equal to 1 by 4 after squaring it. But in the question I have asked it the reverse. So your epsilon 2 by epsilon 1 is same as the ratio of permittivities. Because epsilon naught gets cancelled, so it will be 4. Yeah. So everybody understood how to apply the component and dividend rule? Do you have any questions in this problem? Yes or no? You can reply. So any questions, any doubts in this problem? Yeah, we'll go to the next problem. So read the question. So there is a plane interface between two perfect dielectrics is located at z equal to 0. A 4 gigahertz uniform plane wave traveling from region 1, so which means a negative z region, onto region 2, there z is positive. So the wavelength in the dielectrics are given, lambda 1 is 6 centimeter and lambda 2 is 4 centimeter. Then what is the amount of reflected power? So what is the percentage of reflected power? So this is your interface, z equal to 0, and the wave enters from z less than 0 to z greater than 0. And the wavelength in the first medium given 6 centimeter and here it is given 4 centimeter. So find out how much percentage of power is reflected. So which means that if you are able to find out what is the reflection coefficient, he is asking, you have to express it is in percentage. That's it. Okay, let us do the reverse engineering. I can apply here. So you have to find out the reflection coefficient in percentage. So which means that you know that you have to find out gamma E value first. So if you want to know what is the value of gamma E, you have given the equations, right? Because both are dielectric, you know the values like this. Whether I have given epsilon R1 and epsilon R2 straight away? No. So first thing was you have to find out epsilon R1 and epsilon R2. So how to find out epsilon R1 and epsilon R2? Anybody? I don't know. I have not directly given the value of dielectric constant here. How to find out permittivity values in that case? Anybody? Yeah.
Sir, we can get beta value, that
Beta.
is beta 1, beta 2. 2
Yeah.
pi
What
by
is
lambda
beta 1,
1
beta 2?
2 pi
How
by
will you calculate? 2 pi by?
lambda 1 and lambda 2.
Fine.
And
After getting beta?
omega is constant, that is 4.
Okay.
So we'll get VP will get. That
Correct.
is
Good. That is what I was looking for it. So from the phase velocity, you are going to get the value of epsilon r. Okay. Good.
yes.
Yeah. So because you know that the phase velocity in a dielectric is nothing but, you can say wavelength into frequency. That is a basic definition for your phase velocity, right? Velocity. Lambda by t, I told you, right? One wavelength by one time period. 1 by t is nothing but your frequency there. So the phase velocity in a dielectric medium, you already know, c by root epsilon r. So since the wavelength and frequency, so frequency and wavelength both you know, you are able to define what is the permittivity. Correct? So once the permittivity is known, you can find out gamma E. Once gamma E is known, you can get gamma P. So that's how you have to do the reverse engineering, right? So first you start with the phase velocity and find out what is the permittivity in the first medium and second medium. Okay, I will do it for the first medium, do it for the second medium. You have to do it for the second medium. Yeah. So in the first medium, how to define the phase velocities? Lambda 1 into f is equal to c by root epsilon r1. Okay, all the values are given. So lambda 1 is 6 into 10 power minus 2 is equal to, so 3 into 10 power 8 by root epsilon r1. Okay, lambda 1 into f. F is nothing but 4 giga, 4 into 10 power 9. So from this, what you are going to get, 24 into 10 power 7 is equal to, so let me write it as 30 into 10 power 7 by root epsilon r1. So from this, you are going to get root epsilon r1 is equal to 30 by 24. Okay, you don't simplify this, let it be like this only. We will do the simplification at the final step. So similarly, find out what is the value of root epsilon r2. I don't want to find out only epsilon r1 because I have my equation in terms of root epsilon r1 only. So I don't want to do too much of solving. So that we will do it at the end stage. So similarly, you tell me what is the value of root epsilon r2. Just find out and tell me what is the value. Once you're done with that, you can share the answer here. So similarly, use the same formula. This to become lambda 2 into f, and you are going to get epsilon r2 here. No, don't find out the fraction. Okay, let it be. Don't find out the exact answer. Just tell me the ratio. Something like this. You just tell me the ratio, something like this. What is the 30 divided by 16? Good. That's what. You don't simplify it. Fine. So I was leaving it to you. Everybody verify. Root epsilon R1 you are getting 30 by 24. And root epsilon R2 you are going to get 30 divided by 16. Okay. So I request everybody, you can verify it later. So from this you find out what is the value of gamma E. So you are going to get 30 by 24 minus same thing, root epsilon R1 minus root epsilon R2 by the sum of them. So when you simplify that, you are going to get 16 minus 24 by 16 plus 24. All 30 gets cancelled. So what is the reflection coefficient for electric field you got here? Minus 80 by 40. So which is nothing but minus 1 by 5. Okay. So what is the reflection coefficient for power I told? So reflection coefficient for power is equal to minus gamma E square. So which means minus 1 by 25. So but in the question he's asking to express it in percentage. So if you want to find the value in percentage, it represents minus 4%. Okay, what is the meaning of that? 4% of power is getting reflected back. Do not say minus 4% because when I say it's a reflected back, that itself represents a negative value. Okay, in this case, the answer you got minus 4%, but still, when I say something into reflected back, so this reflected back itself represents a negative. So 4% of energy is getting reflected back. So what is the meaning? So if the incident wave is having 100 watts, let us say the incident power is 100 watt, out of which 4 watt is reflected back and the remaining 96 watts is transmitted into the next medium. So do you have any questions in this problem now? So is it clear, this question? Yeah. Okay, so this is what about normal incidence. So till now what we have seen, when the wave enters at an angle of 90 degrees with respect to the interface, you are able to define what is the amount of reflection and what is the transmission. Electric field, magnetic field and power, all the concepts are clear. Now we will see the case, what will happen if the wave enters at other than 90 degrees. The approach will be same, but your boundary condition slightly how to modify a little bit. Okay. So to understand the oblique incident, first you need to understand the Snell's law. There are two Snell's law there. First one already we discussed. So what is the first one represents? First law. So consider that this is my interface and the wave is entered at an angle of theta I. So always remember, when you are applying the Snell's law, the angle of incident or the angle of reflection or the angle of transmission are always measured with respect to normal. It's not measured with respect to interface. All the angles should be measured with respect to normal. So when the incident wave makes an angle of theta I, and this is my reflection angle, this is my transmitted angle. So what is the first law says? The angle of incident is same as your angle of reflection. This is your first law. So what is the second law you have? The second law what you have was sine of angle of incidence divided by sine of angle of transmission is equal to the ratio of velocities in both the mediums. Okay. This I want the proof by the next class. Okay. Because I will give a different approach. You may not actually find it in any of the textbook. So before that, I want you people to try in different sources, like you can search in the internet or somewhere in the textbook and try to prove how you are going to prove the second Snell's law. Okay. in the next class, I will give a different approach which you cannot find it anywhere. How you can prove the second Snell's law. That is actually my version. Okay, that I will reveal it in the next class. So as of now, you can remember the sine of theta I by sine of theta t is the ratio of velocities in both the mediums. Okay, now consider both the mediums are ideal dielectrics. If both the mediums are ideal dielectrics, what is the velocity in an ideal dielectric? The velocity in an ideal dielectric is velocity of light divided by root epsilon r, divided by c by root epsilon r2. So what is the condition you got? If suppose both the mediums are dielectrics, the second Snell's law can be modified as root epsilon r2 by epsilon r1. So any questions here? So I want this proof by the next class. So you can find it from the different sources and you can share your answer in the group. In the next class, I was going to tell my version. No problem. So in these two laws, do you have any confusion or anything need to be explained here? So is it clear? Shall I go ahead then? Yeah. Now we will see the different type of oblique incidence. Okay. So let me consider this as an example. So this is my z equal to 0 interface again. And as you can see here, this is my incident wave, makes an angle of theta I. So using your Snell's law, you know that the angle of reflection is also same as theta I. And this is my transmitted angle with respect to normal. So can you tell me what is this direction? What is this perpendicular direction? Can you tell me what is this perpendicular direction? Z. Okay. So for an example, I have considered this is your positive Z and this is my negative Z. And let us say Z equal to 0 is basically an XY plane, right? So when you are seeing from the front view, let us say you are not able to see the Y. You can assume that Y is into the board. And this is represents only my X-axis. Okay. You can assume that Y-axis will be perpendicularly either into the board or outside the board. Okay. Now, what is the plane of incidence here? That means when you consider an incident wave, the incident wave lies in which plane? The interface is nothing but XY plane. But when you see the incident wave or the reflected wave or the transmitted wave, it lies in which plane? YZ. Is it YZ? XZ. Good. You see here, this is my incident wave, how it is propagating. So this is my direction of propagation. So if you resolve, you will get two components. This component. So when you see this component is same as your X component. And you will get one more component which will be in negative Z. So let me say one Z component is present. Positive or negative, we will consider it later. So the incident wave lies in the XZ plane. Similarly, you can resolve any component. So this is your reflection coefficient, reflection component. So you are going to get one positive X and one positive Z. Correct? So similarly, transmission, this is your transmitted wave. After splitting, you are going to get this is your positive X and negative Z. So is it clear? So irrespective of either incident, reflection or transmission, the direction of propagation lies in XZ plane. Positive Z or negative Z, forget about it. So this is a very important terminology you have to understand. The plane of incidence is in which plane right now? It is in XZ plane. So all the reflections, transmission, everything is happening in the XZ plane. So any questions here? So do you have any question? Now, so there is a different. Now the question is very simple. I want to have my direction of propagation in the XZ plane. So what should be the combination of your electric field and magnetic field? So can you give the answers? I want to have my direction of propagation in the XZ plane, which means you should have X component and Z component. So what should be the combinations for electric field and magnetic field? So just give me some examples so that I should get my wave propagation in XZ plane. So regarding this, I already given a hint in the last class. Somebody raised a question related to this. E can be XZ and H can be Y. Good. Yeah. So your electric field lies in XZ plane and magnetic field lies in Y direction. What should be the other way? It should be the different way. Then electric field in Y and magnetic field is in XZ plane. Okay. So if you see here, if you want, you can see here. Let us have a look on the A. So your electric field is in XZ plane and magnetic field in Y. So what should be the result and direction here? You are taking E cross H to get the direction of propagation. Correct. Now, if you take X cross Y, you will get one Z component. If you take Z cross Y, you will get one X component. Forget about positive or negative here. I'm not going to comment on that. So that satisfied my condition here. So similarly here also, if you interchange, you will get the same thing. So what I mean to say, if you want to have the direction of propagation in XZ plane, so in the first condition, your electric field lies in the plane of incidence. And in the second condition, your electric field is perpendicular to the plane of incidence. Is it clear what I mean to say? So in the first case, your electric field lies in the same plane of incidence, that is XZ plane. In the second case, your electric field is perpendicular to the plane of incidence, because plane of incidence is XZ plane and Y direction is perpendicular to that. This means uniform plane wave cannot have oblique incidence. Uniform plane wave means whatever the type of wave I have discussed till now, it doesn't have any oblique incidence because it is having only one component. Because you may have a other TEM wave which can also make an oblique incidence. I have discussed one special type of wave where the direction of propagation is having one component only. This, but ultimately uniform plane wave also have oblique incidence like this. So this is also my uniform plane wave only I was telling. I was not deviating from the uniform plane wave. But in the uniform plane wave, I have already told you one example of electric field in X, magnetic field in Y. And direction of propagation will be E cross H. Is it not satisfying that? Okay, this is also a uniform plane wave. I was discussing about the oblique incidence. So you have to remember the first condition, your electric field completely lies in the plane of incidence. That is called your perpendicular polarized. Sorry, parallelly polarized. Parallelly polarized means your electric field lies in the plane of incidence only. So this case, I can call it as a parallel polarized. In the second case, your electric field is perpendicular to the plane of incidence. So that is the reason why this category I can call it as a perpendicularly polarized wave. So any questions here? So have you understood? Parallel polarization means electric field lies in the same plane of incidence or the direction of propagation. Perpendicular polarization means electric field should be perpendicular to plane of incidence. So you are in this case, plane of incidence is XZ plane. So if the electric field is in y direction, which is perpendicular, you can call that nature as a perpendicularly polarized wave. Fine. So any questions here? So do you have any question? Now see here, in this question, I have represented incident electric field and reflected and transmitted with a dot symbol. So as I said here, this is your x-axis and this is your z-axis. So what does that dot represents then? In which direction? So dot represents which direction then? Y direction, correct, good. So your x and z is visible, which is not visible will be represented with either dot or into, right? So in this case, y is not visible in this plane. So your electric field is in y direction here, and this also in y direction, this also in y direction. Is it clear? So in this case, what is the plane of incidence here? As per this, your plane of incidence is in xz plane. As you can see here, this component is x and this component is z, and your electric field lies in y direction. So that is the reason why I can call it as a perpendicularly polarized wave. So have you understood why I was naming it as a perpendicularly polarized? Because your electric field is perpendicular to the plane of incidence. So that is the reason why I was calling it as a perpendicularly polarized wave. I will come back to this particular point. What is this S represents? This is also said to be the S polarized. After the completion of this topic, you will understand what is S represents. Okay. So is there any confusion in the nomenclature what I was saying here? So since electric field is perpendicular to the plane of incidence, this type of polarization I can call it as a perpendicular polarized. So any questions? Shall I go ahead? Shall I go ahead or not? Because this is a very important topic, and everybody will feel this topic is a very difficult one in AMT. But if you understand from the basics, it is very simple. Okay, try to concentrate more here. So in the perpendicularly polarized wave, the condition is the plane of incidence is in xz plane, and your electric field is in y direction, and the magnetic field should be in xz plane, right? Now, so whatever the electric field I have given here, incident electric field, reflected electric field, and transmitted electric field. So all the components are lies in y direction. So is y direction is tangential to the interface or normal to the interface? Can you answer me? So in this case, what is your interface? Interface is nothing but z equal to 0. So this is where your interface is located. I know you are going to reply it as normal, I'm sure. But you should understand, your tangential or normal will be defined with respect to interface, not with respect to plane of incidence. The plane of incidence is different and the plane of interface is different. So interface is the one which separates two different mediums. So in this case, the interface is located at z equal to 0. Yeah, with respect to z equal to 0, what are your tangential components? So when you consider the interface, what all the tangential component for z equal to 0? Z equal to 0 is an xy plane. So x and y both are tangential component. So keeping it in mind, your electric field is said to be the tangential component here. So whatever the electric field here I have mentioned, all are tangential components only. Clear? Then come back. So What is the first boundary condition you have? E tan 1 is equals to E tan 2. So everybody tell me what is the total tangential component in medium 1. So your EI and ER both lies in the y direction. So which will be tangential component? So in the first medium, you will have EI plus ER is equal to your ET. So this is the tangential component boundary condition. This is your first equation. Okay. Similarly, what is the boundary condition for magnetic field you will have? H tan 1 is equals to H tan 2 as seen from the previous case by assuming there is no current on the interface. So I was assuming that there is no current on this interface. So your H tan 1 can be equated to H tan 2. So if I want to resolve the magnetic field component, so what will be the tangential component here? Can you say this HI itself has a tangential component? So will you agree if I say this HI, HR and HT as a tangential component? Will you agree with me? How you can say HI is a tangential component? Yes, sir. No. See here, this is your interface, right? Okay. And this is something like this. When you can say one particular component is tangential, so this is your HI and this is your interface. So you have completely forgotten the concept of tangential and normal. Tangential means which will be parallel to the interface. Okay. Normal means which will be perpendicular to the interface. Okay. If you resolve this particular vector parallel to that, so this I can call it as a tangential component, Hi tan 1. Yeah, fine, no issue. And when you are resolving this as this component, you are going to get normal component. Got my point? So when you are resolving this component, this is your parallel to interface. So we can call this as a tangent component in medium 1. So what I can call this one? And this is the tangential component for incident wave in medium 1. So Hi is the incident magnetic field and tan 1 represents tangential component in medium 1. Correct? So similarly, what is this represents? So this is a reflection magnetic field tangential component in medium 1 only. Similarly, how to represent this one HT? So this one, this is your HT, tangential transmitted magnetic field tangential component in second medium. Is the notation clear for everyone? Is it clear for everyone? So whatever the magnetic field is there, I was resolving it. What should be the tangential component? So is it clear? Yeah. So can you tell me what is this component right now then? Hi tan 1. Now you can see here, there is a 90 degrees angle here and this is your theta I. So what about this angle? So already 90 plus theta I is covered. So what is the remaining angle in a triangle? So that will be 90 minus theta I. And so hence this will become theta I. Okay. So this is your resultant value and this angle is theta I. So what should be this component then? So we know if the resultant is Hi and if the angle is theta I, the adjacent side you are going to get cos. Yeah, good, very good. And opposite side you are going to get sine. So what is the value you are going to get? Hi tan 1 can be written as the resultant value times cosine of the angle, cos theta. So similarly, do it for all the things. So this is your HR tan 1. So tell me HR tan 1. Same thing. This is theta I. This is 90 degrees. And this will become 90 minus theta I. So you are going to get this also theta I. Same thing. The resultant times you are going to get cos of angle. So there also angle is theta I. So can you do it and tell me what is HT tan 2? What is the tangential component of magnetic field in second medium? This component. So if you want to do that, HT cos theta, good, very good. So this is your 90 and this is 90 minus theta. So already 90 and 90 minus theta t, already 180 minus theta t is covered. So this will be theta t and this will be 90 minus theta t and this will become theta t. So again the same thing, it is also adjacent. So you are going to get HT into cos theta t. So these are the three equations, right? Now you can apply the boundary condition. So what is the boundary condition you have? The total tangential component in medium 1 is equal to the total tangential component in medium 2. So can anybody turn on your microphone and tell me what is the value of H tan 1? So you have two tangential components. This is 1 and this is 1. So what should be the resultant value there? So when you resolve the magnetic field tangential component, you will have this one and this one. So the net component will become opposite. So what I can say, Hi tan 1 minus Hr tan 1 is equals to Ht tan 2. So this is your Hi tan 1 and this is your Hr tan 1. Because both are in the opposite direction, the resultant value will be the difference of that. Is equal to whatever the total tangential component in the second medium. So any questions here? Only this much you need to understand. The rest of the thing is purely the mathematics part. So is it clear for everybody? Is it clear for everybody? Yeah. So will you do the rest of the things then? So what is the first boundary condition you will have? EI plus ER is equal to ET. This is your first equation. And what is the second condition you have? HI cos theta I. So I was replacing this value. HI tan 1 is same as HI cos theta I minus. And this value is nothing but HR cos theta I is equal to, this value will be HT cos theta t. So using your second boundary condition, H tan 1 is equal to H tan 2. Somebody is having H tan 1 is the resultant of HI tan 1 and HR tan 1. H tan 1 means what is that represents? Okay, see, H tan 1 minus H tan 2 is equals to K. In this case, it is 0. Okay, what do you mean by H tan 1 is nothing but in the medium 1, how many tangential components are present? In the medium 1, this is my first tangential component after resolving HI. So I can call it as HI tan 1. Okay. Similarly, reflected magnetic field is also present in the same media. So what is the corresponding tangential component there? HR tan 1. Okay. So H tan 1 can be written as the difference of HI tan 1 and HR tan 1. Clear? Yeah, fine. Okay, you take this as a second equation. And what you do, you replace HI, HR and HT with electric field. So you know the relation, right? EI by HI is equal to eta 1. Or this also can be written as ER by HR. So because both are present in the first medium itself. So similarly, what is Et by Ht represents eta 2. So you replace the magnetic field in terms of the electric field. So what you are going to get? So Ei by eta 1 cos theta I minus Er by eta 1 cos theta I is equals to Et by eta 2 cos theta t. Okay, so what you are going to get in this case now? So Ei minus Er is equals to Et into eta 1 by eta 2 cos theta t by cos theta I. So this is your second equation. So you take this equation, don't consider this one. So you take the first equation and second equation. As usual, you can do 1 plus 2 and 1 minus 2 and tell me what is Er by Ei you got and Et by Ei. So you take equation 1 and 2, you just quickly find out what is Er by Ei and Et by Ei. So for that, you can take the reciprocal of the cos as a secant, right? So here I had 1 by cos theta I. This can be come to the numerator as secant theta I. Similarly, cos theta t can be written as a reciprocal of secant theta t. So the second equation I can modify it like this. So you can tell me is it correct or not. Ei minus Er is equal to Et eta 1 by eta 2 into secant theta I by secant theta t. This is my second equation. So will you agree with me? The same second equation I have modified like this. Is it same or different? Yeah, good. Now you take this equation and tell me what is the reflection coefficient in this case, which means Er by Ei and Et by Ei. So take equation 1 and 2 and solve for Er by Ei and Et by Ei. So once you are done with that, you can tell me. Okay. Okay, one thing I will do, I will write the equations here and you can verify it later. Okay. So using 1 plus 2 and 1 minus 2, you are going to get the reflection coefficient as something like this. Eta 2 secant theta t minus eta 1 secant theta I by eta 2 secant theta t plus eta 1 secant theta I. So this is the reflection coefficient you are going to get. And the transmission coefficient, if you see, Et by Ei, you are going to get 2 eta 2 secant theta t by eta 2 secant theta t plus eta 1 secant theta I. So these are the reflection coefficient and transmission coefficient for S polarized wave. Okay, this you can do it afterwards, no problem. You can verify it. But the approach you should know. That is what my complete intention. The reason being why I was telling the every procedure was at least you should be comfortable with the approach. Yeah. First you start with the boundary conditions. Then you try to apply the mathematical equation and you will get this one. And you need not to worry about these equations. When I go to the problems, I will tell you a very simple shortcut. You no need to remember all these formulas and all. I will tell you a simple technique. Okay, just through verification, you will be able to any problem given in oblique incidence. But that is and all possible if you are understanding this approach. So my intention is not to memorize the equations in this part, especially. Just if you got to know what is the approach we are following, it is very easier for you to solve the problem because I am going to tell you a shortcut there. You need not to worry. Okay. And then one more part I would like to discuss here. As I said here, this is the S polarizer I told you, right? S stands for surface. So in this perpendicular polarized, what is the electric field direction? Y direction. Magnetic field lies in the XZ plane. So whatever the electric field I have given, is it lies along the surface or perpendicular to the surface? So you can see here, the interface is located at Z equal to 0. So which means that is X is lying along the surface or perpendicular to the surface? Along the surface. So that is the reason why. So when I say S polarized, this S represents the electric field is polarized along the surface. What is this perpendicular polarized represents? Perpendicular to the plane of incidence. Okay, so the first one, whatever I have created the nomenclature, S polarized is with respect to interface, and the second term, whatever I have given is here, is with respect to plane of incidence. So your electric field lies along the surface, or it will be perpendicular to plane of incidence, which is nothing but your XZ plane. Yeah. So it is lying along the surface of the interface. So that surface they have given it as S polarized, nothing. So do you have any question here? So do you have any questions to ask here? Okay, the next part, whatever we'll see, the next type of polarization, we'll continue in the next class, because we had a lot of topics to discuss, and it seems to be today it will be overloaded. So you take enough time and practice whatever we have said now, starting with normal incidents and one part of the oblique incidents. Then we will discuss in the next class. We will continue, and the problems are very important. So why I was insisting on this oblique incidents was, I told you in the first class, they will say that most of the people EMT they will find difficulty part, and this is what one of the topic which makes everybody to feel very difficult. So that is the reason why I was not going to continue, because we will get overloaded if I continue the next part also. So just take some time and try to understand what is the approach you have followed. Then it is easier for you also to follow in the next class. So in the next class, we are going to discuss what kind of problems are asked in GATE related to the oblique incidents. Then you will feel very comfortable with the subject also. Then you will get more confidence. Okay. So other than that, anything you have to discuss? So do you have any questions other than that? Yeah. Okay. You can sign out now. So maybe the next class is actually not there on Sunday, because Sunday I may not be available because of the traveling. So my next class will be on again next Wednesday. So in the meantime, what I will try to send, I was going to send an assignment to you, and that assignment is purely related to the wave propagation only. Okay. So that assignment is not there in the drive till now. So maybe by Monday I was going to upload the assignment. So before that time, you go through all these concepts in the wave propagation only. You need not to see the first part again. So just go through the concepts of the wave propagation, and till today class, whatever I have discussed, and you practice it, and then you try to solve the assignment. Okay, if you have any doubts in solving assignments, you can just let me know through WhatsApp group. Okay. Yeah. Some question is there.
Sir, the PDFs that you upload, sir, where do you upload that? Means,
No, same thing only, right? Where I have uploaded, I think maybe the last class I have not uploaded, I guess.
okay.
Till that time I have uploaded all these things, right, in your You didn't have the link. Till now you have not seen the PDF.
I was searching for it, sir. It's in that assignment folder or somewhere else.
No. Assignment folder is separate, and there will be a different folder is there. I think anyhow. Once again, I will share it in the WhatsApp group now only. Okay, you
Yes,
can
yes,
click
sir.
that link. Okay, yeah, because that is will be more helpful. That is my intention is that only. If you see the PDF, you can have a quick revision of that.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
you just go
Because,
through that. Yeah.
for example, these points like plane of incidence, Z, means
Yeah,
if
yeah.
I'll
That
read.
is the reason why. No, I was uploading in PDF because I was thinking that till now you are going through that PDFs. Only the last class, this part I have not updated.
Okay,
Other
sir.
than that, everything is available. You just make use of it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. You practice it all the concepts. Then I want that assignment. Once you've done with the theory part, you everybody try to solve the assignment. Then you will get more confidence, and you can easily identify what all the areas you are actually lagging. So then, if you had those areas, if you are lagging, then we can discuss in the next class. Okay. Before that time, you complete the revision part.